please welcome TJ List.
It was March of 2001. It's about 11:30 at night. We're cruising into Pontiac, and the red and blue lights come on in the rearview mirror. I pulled over the car, watched as the deputy walked up. I rolled my window down. I stuck both hands out the window and I yelled, "We're going to the hospital. My wife is pregnant and she's bleeding." The deputy leaned in, shined his great big flashlight on us and looked. He said, "All right, slow down. We want to make sure you get there alive." That was my step into fatherhood. And along that way, 3 different men made an impact. And this is kind of the story. So the officer escorted us to the hospital. It was our second visit that day. We had been there 5 hours before for the first night of Lama's childbirth training. So first night typically happens more than 6 hours before the pregnancy. The ER staff brought out a wheelchair and they said, "Go park your car." I came back in. They had already taken Sandy, my second wife, up to the obstetrics unit. I went up and found her. They were doing an ultrasound, and the bleeding was caused by an abruption. It's a serious condition where the placenta pulls away from the wall of the uterus. The prescription is emergency C-section. And of course I thought, I guess we're having a baby tonight? About an hour later, I'm standing outside the door to the operating room looking through the window. And after all of the hubbub and commotion, the doctor holds this little child up. We named her Kai. She was pink, tiny, and 7 weeks early. And in that moment, my heart just swelled. It was like the Grinch. I grew and grew because it was just filled with this love and joy and wonder. And there's this perfect little child. And there was a little bit of fear too. I thought, can I really do this dad thing? I knew that I was going to do everything I could to be there for my daughter. I thought back to my first girlfriend. About a year after college, we got pregnant and we had to make a decision. She was in seminary, and having a child out of wedlock would have put the kibosh on that. Okay, I get it. I knew that we both knew we weren't ready for marriage quite yet, and we were too young to have kids, and I was like, I am not going to do an adoption. I just can't, because when my parents were little, they divorced. I was an infant, and I never knew my father growing up. I'd see him once or twice a year. Now, after college, he and I worked really hard, and we built a relationship, and it's solid today. But I wasn't going to abandon a child or give one away. So we made the difficult choice to have an abortion. Standing there, holding my newborn daughter for the first time, I promised Kai, no matter what, I'm going to do the best I can to be a good father for you. The first couple of years were pretty typical. My mother-in-law moved in with us. We had our jobs. Sandy was working as a teacher. I had a job as an engineer. We had a mortgage, and we had a toddler. And we loved Kai. Still love Kai. Kai's a great kid. Well, Kai's about 2.5, and Sandy decides she's going to take Grandma, and they're going to go for a girls' weekend. It's like, okay, great. We'll go to the park. We'll watch movies. It'll be perfect. This was in August of 2003. Does anybody remember when the lights went out? This was that weekend. So it's August. It's hot. We have no electricity, no fan, no air conditioning. What am I going to do? Guess what, Kai? We're going to go camping. So we set the tent up in the basement. It's nice and cool. We camped in the basement. I was pretty proud of myself. That worked out great. I talked to Sandy the next day. Yeah, they've got power at the resort they're at. Well, why don't I bring Kai up and we'll spend the weekend with you and Grandma? So we did just that, and it was a decent weekend, at least in my opinion. Sandy was not happy about crashing girls' weekend. All you had to do was take care of your daughter for a weekend. This was my only chance to relax before I have to go back to teaching school. What's wrong with you? I felt about 2 inches tall. My confidence as a father was shaken pretty profoundly. It doesn't matter that it's a whole lot easier to be a parent when you have modern conveniences like electricity. A couple of years later, Kai was about 4, and we separated and divorced. And I held true to my promise. I was still around. The divorce said I got Kai one weeknight, every other weekend. We'd work out the holidays. Okay, cool. Worked out great. I rented a house in Kego Harbor. It was about 40 minutes from where Mom lived. And I'd pick Kai up from childcare or from school, and we'd spend the night together, and I'd take her back to school the next morning, and then Mom would take her. It was great. A couple of years later, as I got my feet settled again after the divorce, I thought, you know what? I want to be closer to my kid. And I managed to buy a house in Waterford. It was 10 minutes from Mom, 5 minutes from the elementary school this way, 5 minutes from the high school that way. Would have been perfect. Kai came over, we moved in, we painted her bedroom. Kai helped me make a gorgeous mural. I've got photos of it somewhere, I'm sure. And I was like, this is great. But then it turned out not to be so great. We didn't know, but Kai was allergic to something, and something in my house. I didn't know what it was. She would go back to Mom's house. She was fine while she was with me for a few hours, but she'd wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning with this awful hacking cough and asthma. And Mom called me up, of course. Why didn't you have that house checked out before you bought it? You're killing our child. What's wrong with you? Okay. Now my house isn't safe for my kid. And this is not what I want for my child. I thought back to when I was about Kai's age, when I was 7. I knew what it was like to be in a scary and dangerous place. My mom, my half-brother and stepfather and I were living in a little farmhouse outside of Caro. And Gary, my stepfather, was big, strong, and scary. We had a German Shepherd dog that Gary absolutely loved. But like Gary, this dog had mental health issues. And it came to a head when the dog tried to bite the landlord. So it was a cold gray morning, and Gary took me and the dog, and we walked across the street, and we were out in this farmhouse. There's fields for a mile and a half. And the dog starts running in the fallen corn stalks. And Gary lifts a .22 caliber single-shot rifle to his shoulder. Pow! He stopped and reloaded. Pow! 4 or 5 shots later, the dog is finally lying in the ground. We're standing, looking at this dog with blood oozing out of small holes in the side. Gary looks at me and says, "That's what death looks like. What do you think?" I don't think I like it very much. I was terrified. There's this big, scary man. What's he going to do? I mean, he just shot this dog that he loves. He could do something to me or to my brother. I had to do something to make this better for Kai. That was just not going to work. I ripped out the old carpet that was in the basement, cleaned everything, had the ductwork professionally cleaned, had a professional mold test. We never found out what was wrong with the house or why Kai got sick. But I had to get out of there. So about a year and a half later, I managed to sell the house on a short sale. This was in 2009, and the economy had tanked, and I'd lost my job. It's like, all right, I just won't make the payments. And, well, it all worked out. I rented an apartment, and again, Kai had their own room. At this point, things were starting to progress to a safer space where I was thinking back to my childhood. After the time with Gary, my grandmother had said to me at one point during a visit, "If you would like to come and live with us, just say so." I was 7.5, and I called them up and said, "Can I come and live with you?" So I moved in with my grandmother and my grandfather on Thanksgiving Day when I was 7.5. I didn't see Gary again. A few months later, the PTSD from his time in Vietnam and his mental health took the better of him, and he committed suicide. I was finally free of that. My grandfather took good care of me. He took good care of my grandma, too. She was in a wheelchair, limited mobility. He was still working a tough blue-collar job. And he was there for me. And he taught me how to bait a fish hook. He taught me how to fix things around the house. Eventually, he taught me how to drive. And he gave me a safe home. That first Father's Day I was with him, I asked him if I could call him Dad. And he was very, very happy for that. And he was my dad, my real dad, from that day forward. So I now had a map to go forward with Kai and be the best dad I could be. We did the usual stuff, field trips, taking kids out and chasing them around in the park, playing tag. It was great. One of my favorite memories was after third grade, I took Kai and her friend, and they ran around the park, and I chased them. We were all exhausted after. It was fantastic. I got to make up for the time that I didn't get with my dad because he had arthritis. It was difficult for him to do physical things, but he loved me. Okay, cool. When Kai was in middle school, I remarried my third wife, and Betsy was a fantastic stepmom and a very, very encouraging wife. She made sure that I spent time with Kai. She encouraged me, made sure that I knew that I was doing a decent job. And it's hard to know that sometimes. Kai got to the age in high school, learned to drive. I got to teach her just like my dad taught me. That was pretty cool. Then during Kai's senior year of high school, I turned 50. And for my birthday, that's the first time I dyed my beard. At that point, I'd been going to Mom's house. I'd pick Kai up. Kai would drive to school for practice, and then I'd drive to work afterwards. Well, Kai came to open the door and saw me with my brightly, freshly dyed blue beard and freaked out. No! She turned and ran back into the house screaming. She wouldn't let me take her to school. A few hours later, Mom called me. "What are you thinking? This is her senior year of school. This is supposed to be her year. You're stealing all of the attention she's getting. What's wrong with you? Okay, I've felt this before. But we got through it. I called Kai up and said, listen, I know that this upset you. I didn't want to do that to you. I'm just trying something new. I'll make you a deal. It's your senior year. I'm going to stay out of your way. I'm going to shave the beard off until after your high school graduation party. After that, all bets are off. Okay, we agreed. Graduation came. I watched Kai cross the stage. Betsy and I separated, and we divorced a couple of years later. So after the senior year of college or of high school, Kai was 18, getting ready to start community college. She said, Dad, what do you think if I maybe stay with you 3 nights a week and with Mom 4 nights a week? Well, of course, that's why you have a room here. So she started doing that, and she did a semester at Oakland Community College. And then she decided, you know what, that's not what I want to do right now. Like, okay. She was still living back and forth, and then she went out and got a job. Like, good on you, kid. And then about 6 weeks later, the pandemic hit, and she's been my full-time ever since. It's worked out. I bought a condo. Again, we've got our own spaces. Kai's exploring what it means to be a young adult. Kai figured out that they're non-binary. And I'm like, I don't care. You're not killing people. It's all good. Through all of this, in the last 24 years, I've often asked myself and wondered, how am I doing as a father? Did I do enough? Did I do this right? I had some role models. My biological father taught me not to disappear. My stepfather taught me not to scare people. And he taught me what fear was. My dad, my grandfather, taught me love, respect, and responsibility. And I'm grateful for that. About 6 weeks ago, I came home from a week-long business trip. I suspected Kai would be at work, so on the way home from the airport, I stopped in at the store where they work. When I got to the counter, Kai looked up. Dad? I haven't seen you all week. Lena, this is my dad. Lacey, come here. I want you to meet my dad. I just grinned, pointed back. That's my kid. They're pretty cool. So after all this time, I finally learned that in the eyes of the one person for whom it really matters, I'm a pretty good dad. Thank you.
TJ, I say you're a pretty good dad too, and an excellent storyteller. So thank you for sharing that with us.